got a few headlines to share with you today, so we're going to just hop right on it. First up in our headlines, another Trump story. Uh,
Is it the double
this
T, the Trump tariff story in general?
Well, what I find interesting about this is, when the tariff thing exploded, everyone's like, "Well, this is just a push for Made in America," but he just announced that, in fact, his goal is to build tanks and computers, not socks
Apparel.
and T-shirts.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
Yes.
So the answer is why are we being tariffed if we are not supporting an industry? I think it goes back to the whole conversation about, look, if you're working to protect tariffs and duties are usually at least stated to protect domestic industries.
Mm-hmm.
Higher synthetic tariffs were put in place to protect companies like DuPont. At the time, we were manufacturing synthetics. Now the conversation has evolved to, hey, this is taxation. Now it's a lot clearer that if we're not getting singled out as an apparel industry where Trump's not interested in building, we don't
That
really have a
infrastructure.
large infrastructure
Yeah.
today, but he's not interested in rebuilding the infrastructure in American apparel. And he says we can get those goods elsewhere. Why are those tariffs existing then? And so I think,
Mm-hmm.
I
And
think,
penalizing key origins where we get those goods.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then it's not really penalizing the origins; it's taxing the
On the
American
goods.
consumer. So
Yeah.
it comes back to that whole conversation. So a more evolving story every single day. It continues to change a little bit. Hopefully, there's some clarity, at least for our sector, going forward, that if we're not going to build a domestic sector, again, we've talked about all the challenges that
Mm-hmm.
exist within that. We would love, as an industry, to have a balanced apparel sector. We think there are opportunities with technology to bring that back, but it requires some big investment. It requires technology because the labor force isn't there as much.
Right, right.
And so, that we've got to continue down the path. But at the same time, if we're not going to invest in a domestic uh, industry, or it's not going to become much bigger than 2% of the overall production, there's no reason why we should be having increased tariffs on this sector.
For sure. Well, one of the regions that the world is looking to for production as a result of this complicated landscape, India, of course, is targeted as a prime uprising region. And right now in the news, they've got two major battles at hand.
Yeah, I mean, this really goes to affect within areas of India. It goes to
Mhm.
affect a lot of industry, but certainly apparel. In Mumbai, it's battling unbelievable severe flooding. It's
Mhm.
breaking 107-year-old rainfall records. We're seeing climate events happening all over. We talked about St. Louis and the catastrophic tornado.
Mhm.
This is definitely occurring all over the world. India and Mumbai are dealing with heavy rains coming up, red alerts in South Mumbai, high tides, which increase waterlogging. They're suggesting that people stay at home and stay in
Yeah.
high water. I remember years ago when I traveled in Mumbai, there was a huge flooding event and thousands of people were killed. So this
Oh
is a
gosh, very
serious
serious.
event.
So factory shutdowns. So that's definitely going to affect deliveries for people that are producing in that region. And then COVID is back.
Yeah, there is a huge conversation with a spike going on in Delhi with COVID
Hmm.
19, which in a dense population such as India, where small villages have 800,000 people
Wow.
and not much personal space, those have the ability to move very, very quickly. So
Hmm.
these are things to be really aware of as production is migrating out of China and other regions. And India is really looking to pick up that ball. And we really still believe that India is a fantastic place for production in today's economy.
Hmm.
There are these real world acts of God, if you will, that could affect production.
Yeah. Let's move into the luxury market. Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus merged a little while ago, or actually Neiman Marcus acquired Saks is
Yeah.
probably the more accurate way to say that. And now we're seeing some innovation happening within Saks. We're seeing them now launching a store on Amazon. And we're seeing them also in a new partnership with Costco. This is a pretty dynamic shift for a brand that is associated with the best with luxury, now going into a very accessible, cost-driven market.
Well, it is breaking paradigms a little bit, but if we look at both Neiman and Saks, and we look at those stores being one of the larger conglomerate chain of luxury goods, they've been struggling for some time. So coming up with creative ways for new distribution makes sense. I think Amazon is working to break barriers of that. Amazon is simply just a low cost American
Mhm.
version of Shein or whatever. They're a complete provider of goods to your house. That's as they've launched into pharmacy and everything else. I think it makes sense that retailers like this that don't have a super effective supply chain to deliver to someone's house to partner with Amazon,
Sure.
because eventually, come on, let's face it, everyone is going to be moving to Amazon for delivery of goods to their home. So I don't
Yeah.
really necessarily feel that that is something that's going to affect,
Compromise their brand.
yeah, compromise the brand in general. Costco is certainly a conversation because there are a lot of people coming up and saying, oh my God, what are you doing? You're compromising your brand. This is a discount chain, a discount club. You know, you're a luxury brand. And so don't do it. We don't know the discussion that's
Mm.
going on with Costco. Costco has luxury goods in it every day. They have luxury TVs, they have
It's
luxury
true.
Rolex watches,
Diamond rings.
diamond rings.
Yes.
So the question is if you play this well, and it's just another place to provide luxury goods to, you know, Costco attracts all levels of the market, not everyone
Hmm.
just shopping for
Discount.
cheap discount
Yeah.
goods. So if it's just another opportunity for providing access outside of the limited brick and mortar opportunities throughout the United States that Saks and Neiman provide,
Yeah.
it could be an additional revenue maker that drives their business. I
Yeah.
think it's all in being good stewardship of the brand and really understanding what's going into these locations and what that story is being told. So the jury's out. There's still a lot of conversation to go on. I would tell you, somebody at Saks and Neiman are really trying to think through this
Innovatively.
whole
Yeah.
distribution thing innovatively.
I think that is interesting. You're right. There are so many markets that don't have these luxury stores. So that is
Absolutely.
opening access.
Yeah.
Speaking of luxury, there is another story that's in the headline. This one's on Burberry,
Mhm.
classic brand, it's been around a long, long time, and they've just announced that they're going to be reducing their workforce by 1,700 employees, and they've got some major restructuring happening.
Yeah, they're looking to save about 60 million pounds by the end of 2027. Um, you know, this is just an ongoing effect of upper end haute
Mhm.
couture, I guess, luxury brands trying to figure out their level in this world. In an ever-changing marketplace, there's a lot of conversation about, is Asian buying habits changing? Are they still buying into brands?
Mhm.
That whole landscape is changing on a global basis. And so these luxury brands have to kind of constantly figure out where they sit on that space.
A lot of change coming. There is a group, a conglomerate in Italy that is seeking to really shine the light and reduce some of the exploitation of workers that have been uncovered recently in brands that are producing there, Dior, Armani, among them. Tell us a little bit about what's happening there. Where has this challenge evolved from, and what's going on?
Yeah, Italy's fashion council, Confindustria Moda.
Nice pronunciation.
I tried. Um,
I left that one to you.
okay, sounds good. They're looking in and they've signed this non-binding action plan to start addressing labor challenges. And we've talked about in previous episodes that the Italians were kind of, I don't know,
Savvy.
innovative in their own way, savvy in their own way, bringing in a lot of Chinese labor into Italy to work in some of their manufacturing zones. Because even though when you travel to some of these places within Italy, it looks like little China, a lot of the workers are Chinese, they can still export under made in Italy label because
Right.
technically it's made in Italy of Chinese labor.
I
And
see.
therefore Italy has gone through a lot of what America is going through in this same sector. The Italians don't want to sit on sewing machines every day. The everyday workforce, and neither do Americans. They don't want to sit on sewing machines. So, Italy's known as this luxury market. They want to maintain that. The luxury Italian brands want to maintain that. So what do? You bring in labor,
I
as
see.
opposed to America today, where we're kind of blocking off and re-exporting this labor force, which is going to
Yes.
cause us quite a few issues, I think, in the future. Um, Italy was pretty aggressive on importing a labor force to solve for a certain sector of that business. The downside to all of that is without oversight and without plans in there, what's
Right.
happened is you've got tax compliance, you've got labor laws being violated. I
Right.
think
Because
with
they're using the laws that would be aligned with the people that they're importing to do, not the Italian labor
yeah, I
laws.
mean, when you have undocumented labor, generally that undocumented labor ends up being underpaid, and
Right.
they struggle. And so, all of these things, this whole kind of conversation about transparency, is there legal intervention to happen in every country? You know, all of these issues are not black and white. They're
Yeah.
always gray issues. Everything in our world is kind of gray. And so there's these benefits for bringing in low cost labor because they fill jobs that
People
normal
don't want to do.
people in these countries don't want to do, and they have an opportunity to see a better life, better than maybe where they were. But at the same time, it creates opportunity for exploitation. So you've got to
Yes.
make sure that you're
I see
covering
that
both,
challenge.
and that's what they're dealing with
So
today.
here's what I'm hearing. Between tariffs and making sure that people in their work environment they aren't getting underpaid, I'm hearing prices are going up.
I'm not alone with that conversation. Yes, for sure.
Okay, so our last story of the day is a delicious story. We're seeing a rising trend in the marketing
It's
side of
close to lunch.
fashion.
My stomach just growled. It's saying, "Hey, fashion and food. That sounds
Fashion
great."
meets food,
Okay.
or is it meat?
Oh, there we
MEAT.
go. Meats food.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sorry to all the vegans out there.
well, this is definitely a whole new trend in the tastemakers of the industry. We've seen things happen in the past where there's been the food informed designs, the Panera baguette bag and
Mhm.
things like that, which is just kind of fun marketing. And now we've also are seeing collaborations between
Mhm.
beer and brands like the Tory or Kate and Miller High Life collab. We see Tory Burch and Bon Bon. So you see some of that happening. But now it's going further than that. It's bringing food into the actual marketing itself,
Yeah.
making that kind of a primary partnership.
Well, come on, people kind of connect over food. People
Hmm.
connect over the dinner table, and so food is something that can bring in new generations. And it's I think a interesting marketing angle. But we've seen it go further than that. I mean,
Hmm.
we were at Ralph Lauren
Oh,
restaurant
right.
in Chicago this week, and that was a extension of that brand into food. We
Mhm.
were at Louis Vuitton Cafe in Paris, and that was an extension of that into food. And so this is the all-encompassing lifestyle kind of move, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a really good reflection of what's happening in our culture.
Mhm.
It's brands trying to be more than a product and really build on an experience.
Well, and emotional connection,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
absolutely. Well, those are our key highlights for today. Do not forget to meet us back here next week at noon to get caught up on the latest happenings of the week. And do not forget to subscribe to stay apprised of upcoming episodes.
We got to go eat. I'm hungry.